every now and again, I find myself just looking down at her, and I have tears of joy, because it's like, is this real? Yes, it's real. She's with me. She's my little girl. But I didn't give up. I kind of solidified that adoption was still the route for me, and that it would happen when it was supposed to happen. And then 2 months later, I was matched again.
Good afternoon. I am Rosalind Dove, a member of First A.M.E. Zion Church. Unfortunately, Reverend Marcus Scott couldn't join us today, but we did not want to miss out on a Testimony Tuesday. We have a very dear friend, Miss Tia Holloman, who is here to share her story. Welcome, Tia.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that in church, our choir sang a song that made me think about you. I'm not a singer, but to God be the glory. It was you, Lord, it was you pulling me through. And I watched your journey, and I'm so thankful to God for the outcome. So, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for sharing that song. The interesting thing is, again, God works in such mysterious ways, wonderful ways. Today I had a memory pop up on my Facebook page from this time last year, where I had just gotten home from Florida, from Texas, with a disruption from my first placement. And I was reading back through that, and I remember that time vividly. I was devastated that I was not coming home with a child, that I went all the way to Texas, which is not close. Right. And I had been connected and really had developed this love for a child, and then came home empty-handed. I was heartbroken, to say the least, and dealing with a whole bunch of emotions. But as I was reading it from last year, thinking about where I am today, it has just been an amazing, challenging, but very fulfilling journey. And not even just this, what some would say, short amount of time, even though it felt like an eternity, short amount of time with me going through the adoption process, but just as I look at the journey of my entire life that has gotten me here. I think, I can remember I have always wanted to be a mother. And I am the oldest of my siblings, and the oldest of most of my cousins. I'm the only female cousin, and and I just always was the one who babysat, and who, just always was tapped to kind of care for other children, my siblings, my cousins, all the things. And it that developed the initial desire in me to be a mother. But I also, watched the women in my family. My family was primarily a matriarchal family, where most of the women were single women who were raising children by themselves. And I in my mind had said that I didn't want that to be my story. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a partner. I wanted to be able to have a family unit, because I just wanted to be completely different. So I went about my life waiting for that, praying for that, hoping for that, but also got my education, I got my career, and all the things that I had prayed for. There were a number of things that I was praying for in my life I was seeing come to fruition: promotion in my job, home ownership, completion of my master's, just a whole bunch of other things. But what seemed to feel elusive for me for a while was motherhood and marriage. And but I was still hopeful, and so still going about my life. And I finally got to a point when I turned 40 that I said, the desire to be a mother had not left. I know I still obviously have a desire to be a wife, but the desire to be a mother had not left. But I also knew that my age was going to start to impact the ability to be a able to do that. So I made the decision at 40 that I was going to attempt motherhood on my own. And I started the IVF process. And it was at that time that, talking with my doctor, that he said it would be very difficult for me to do it on my own, which is why I had to do IVF. But also, there were just a number of other things that were starting to impact my ability to have children myself. And I just remember one day I was talking to a friend of mine who was going through a similar journey, and she had just, adoption had come up in the conversation. And it was something that I can remember thinking about when I was younger, but not as I was going through this process. And then I started to kind of think about it when it seemed like being able to carry a child myself wasn't going to happen. And she was like, girl, just do it. And I said, you know what? I prayed on it. And it was actually after one of my doctor's appointments where the doctor really said, this isn't going to happen for you naturally. And that was sad. I had to grieve that. But then I prayed on the adoption. And when after I prayed, it was like the most peaceful calm that came over me.
And that's when you know it's right.
And that's when I knew it was right. That's when I knew that was the process, that was the path that I was supposed to go down. And then I started thinking about, again, my journey to get to that point, and thinking back to, like I said, I was the oldest sibling, the oldest cousin, and the one who was typically tapped to look after other people's children. And I'm like, in every sense, I loved those children as if they were mine. So there was no doubt in my mind that I could love a child who I did not give birth to. And also with the way my family has been made up over the years, is I know my family can also love a child that did not come to us biologically, because we have loved many children that have not come to us
and
biologically.
Let me just interject that you are a nurturer. I know you to be a teacher. I know you to be a tutor, because you helped me and my children. So you starting that journey and the outcome, this is so natural. You are a mother.
Yeah.
I've seen you with your nieces.
Yeah.
This is you.
And that's what a lot of people said, even though it's once I decided that this was the path I was going to go, then I also thought, are you crazy? Can you do this? Are you going to be able to do this? And so I had a lot of those thoughts that went through my mind, and I still do sometimes, but I think that I'm doing okay.
I think you are also, because you have such a wonderful village.
Yes.
Your close friends, your sorority sisters, your family, my family.
Yes.
God has placed you in the best village.
Absolutely.
And you utilize your village, because we can't be, we're not everything. We can't be everything for our children.
Right.
We have to trust that God will place other people in their lives, in our lives, that will love and nurture your children.
Yes. Yes.
As you want them to be loved and nurtured.
Yes.
So
yes, that is definitely the entire, when I think on my entire journey that has gotten me here, I have been blessed with the right people, the right resources, the right time. And even in the times when it felt like, you're asking questions, why this way? Why did that have to happen? Why not this? It's when you see the full picture, it's okay, now I understand. And everything was building up to where I am now and continues to build up. So it definitely, like I said, once that decision was made, it was great peace. And then things just started to fall into place. And even, I can even remember going back, when I first started the journey, I was nervous, and I was thinking, no one is going to choose me. If they have to make a choice for their child to have a better situation, why would they choose a single parent? Why would they choose So then I was in my head about and I talked to my social worker, I talked to a number of people, and they were like, that let that go out of your mind. People make choices for all the different reasons. And then also it was like, it could be 2+ years before you get placed, and like it's a grueling journey, and it definitely is. But again, I was very fortunate in that from start to finish, it was 18 months. And so it felt like an eternity at the time, but 18 months in the grand scheme of things is not very long. And even with the disruption, I was matched in March initially, and for a child who was to be due in June, and then the disruption happened in June because the mother decided to parent, which is totally her. I respect her for that. I appreciate that. It was heartbreaking for me, and then I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be, but I didn't give up. I kind of solidified that adoption was still the route for me, and that it would happen when it was supposed to happen. And then 2 months later, I was matched again, and now Crosby was born on Christmas night. Yes. So many things that just fell into place, and her biological parents chose me for a specific reason, and like all of those things, it was like this was God's plan all along. It was meant to be, and everything has fallen into place since then. And like you said, I've been blessed with a phenomenal village that continues to show up and be present, and she's got all kinds of aunties and cousins and uncles and just people who love on her and love on us, and it has been it's just amazing every single day. And there are so many times that like I look down and I can't even believe that she's my daughter, that I am her mother, because there were times in my life that I didn't think that was going to be the story for me. And then I remember it's like everything that you've prayed for has come to pass. It might not have come to pass when you felt like it was supposed to, but it has come to pass in a way that has exceeded anything that I could have thought of. So you have to stop worrying.
Absolutely.
Which is something that my grandmother used to always tell me when I was young. And so I like every now and again, I just have to remember, you have to stop worrying and know that it will come to pass when it is supposed to be, and when it is meant to be for me. And so I really have been, especially since she's been born, I've been trying to lean into that more, because like she truly is the ultimate blessing, the ultimate answer for me. And so it's like, I'm not worried about anything, because I know that God is going to bless me, because he has in so many different ways. And it's just, it's hard to put in words, because like, even as you had mentioned, like my village, I've always tried to genuinely show up for others, and there were times in my life where I didn't think that it was okay to ask for that, or that people would show, and I'm just blown away by, and I don't know where that comes from, but it definitely has been an amazing journey. And every now and again, I find myself just looking down at her, and I have tears of joy, because it's like, is this real? Yes, it's real. She's with me. She's my little girl.
And God's timing is so perfect.
Yes.
When you mention 18 months, I've read stories where parents have waited years to receive their blessing.
Yep.
So, but you have such a great story one day that you will share with Crosby. There's a member of our church here who was adopted. She's an adult, and I remember years ago, she told me, I love my mother because she wanted me. I didn't know her. I'm not her biological daughter, but she wanted me. And so when Crosby is old enough to hear your story and to understand that, she's just, you're so easy to love, Tia. Let me just say that. You are very easy to love. I know. Because we've been through a lot. I'm just so thankful that your story is that you're willing to come here and share your story, because I think stories are so important.
Yeah.
Not many of us read books. Not many of us want to just sit and hear someone's story. But stories are so important. And you don't have to be a professional storyteller. We are all our own storytellers in our own right.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to stop talking, and I'll let you, because I'll just cry.
Right. Yes. Thank you for that. There it is. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because there are definitely times when you can feel like you question yourself, right? You just question a lot of things, and but like especially as I've gotten older, I've really tried to silence those questions in my head and focus in on what's real and what's in front of me, that silence those things. But there are definitely times I can remember when I was younger where I questioned whether or not I was lovable, or if people would show up for me. And again, there's really no reason for that, for me to have questioned those things. But like I said, when you make this picture in your mind of kind of the way you feel like your life should be, even with everything that I went through as a young person coming up, I had this picture of my mind, and when things weren't kind of unfolding in the way that I thought that they should, based off of whatever design I made in my head, it makes you question a lot. But as I look at my life now and really focus, it's exactly as it should have been, and is exactly really what I wanted it to be. And so I really am just focusing on being grateful for that, and recognizing the blessings that I have in any time, because it's not to say that I don't still have questions that pop up, but anytime they do, I try to very quickly silence them. Like, remember, look at this. Anytime you ask, this is what has happened. Anytime. So thank you for that. I am definitely very fortunate for the people that have been placed in my life, and for different reasons at different times. Yeah, it has been amazing.
There was a question, I've been in my own head many times, and then once God put in my head, why not you? And I thought, why not me?
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, why not you?
Yeah.
You asked for your heart's desire. You prayed on it, and God delivered.
Yes.
And so why not you,
right.
Tia?
Yeah.
You give to so many. So I just keep saying the same thing. I mean, it's such a beautiful story. So now that you have your daughter, you are a mother.
Yes.
How has life been?
Life has been crazy and amazing, but crazy. It is. I will be honest. It was like, okay, so you said you was going to do this, so you're okay, but we're doing it. It is, and it has been. And again, it is just a testament to the blessing that she is, and the blessing of the village that I have. While it is she and I in our house, it is not she and I by myself. And there are so many people who love her and have loved her since I started the journey. So even before she was who she was to us. And so I'm very grateful for that. And like, we're just moving and grooving. And it is so funny because, like, as I was preparing to welcome a child, and even when she was first born, like, I was like, okay, can you be a good mother? Can you raise a child? Can you take care of, like, how do you learn these things? And then it was like, then you just go into action. And so it's like, I don't even know where it comes from. I was even talking here recently because I had a couple of days where I wasn't feeling that well, but it was like, when I got to wake up, I got to get her ready, get her out the door, get her dropped off. It's like that feeling of not feeling well just kind of sits on the back burner. You take care of her, and then once she's taken care of, then it's like it all comes from it. Gotta get so slacky. So it's like you just do it.
Yeah.
And she was born 5 weeks early, and so we spent actually 28 days in the NICU. But the whole time I was there every single day, and the whole time, I'm watching her and I'm just paying attention. I'm asking questions and stuff. And so then after a while, the nurses were like, you were very in tune with her. You were very, you know all of her cues, and all of that made me feel good, because it was also the piece, when through adoption is very important for the bonding, and so there were certain things that we weren't able to do just because she was in the NICU, and like the skin to skin and things like that. So then it's like, okay, so does that mean we're not going to be able to bond as well? We're here.
Yes. Yes.
We are extremely connected. She knows I'm mommy, and but like you were saying earlier, I think it is very important for me to make sure she knows her full story, because one of the things that I had shared, so before we were matched, when I submitted my profile to her biological parents, I wrote a letter also, and one of the things that said, it's very important that she knows her story, that she knows her family, and knows that family are made up in many different wonderful ways. And so I definitely want to hold true to that, and I want to make sure that she knows the beautiful story that brought the two of us together, but also the beauty where she comes from, and her connections and things like that. So all of that, it's like, it just reaffirms to me that all of this was in the plan always, and it's just been an amazing experience. 6 months now. We're 6 months in. It's been an awesome journey.
I love it. I just envisioned a quilt of Crosby's journey, your journey, and the center of it, you're coming together. I wish I sewed. But no, just so thankful. And the way she lights up when she sees you, you are mommy. You are. So just for our audience, I did ask for permission if we can present our special guest, and the answer was yes. So I would like to introduce Tia.
We have Miss Crosby, Janine Skye. All right.
Hi, Crosby girl.
Are you going to speak?
Hello.
Say
hello, Crosby. Hello. You liked me 2 weeks ago? Hi, love.
There we go. Yes. Hi, sweet girl. Yes. Say hello. So I'm really into my hands right now. Oh, and her shoes are coming off. This is Miss Crosby. And she is the latest in the C crew, as we call it with my family, because all of my nieces' names start with a C. So she's the latest in the C crew. And her middle name, I gave her my mom's middle name because my mom passed away 30 years ago now. And she would have adored her. And sometimes that makes me sad too. I wish that my grandparents and my mom could have met her, but I know that they watch over her. And so it really meant a lot to me to give her my mom's middle name, Janine. And that's something else that everyone in the family has some connection to someone in the family with their name in some way. And so it was not going to be any different for Miss Crosby girl.
No, she is beautiful, Tia.
Thank you.
I love the color scheme. Mommy and daughter.
We got to coordinate.
Yes, love it.
And green is mommy's favorite color. So.
And it will be yours. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it will. Tia, so one question that we like to ask towards the end of Testimony Tuesday is, why do you think it's important to share your story?
Yeah, I think it is important to share because people need to know that you're not the only one who might be questioning or struggling or doubting or waiting or, going through whatever it is you might be going through. And sometimes like the thoughts and the things that are in your head can be so heavy that it's hard to come out and think that anybody else could understand. Or would be willing to support, and hearing other people's stories help you to say, okay, it isn't me, and I can, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know what that light is, and I may not know when it's coming, but I know it's there, and that might be just enough that's needed to kind of get you through whatever it is that you need to get through. And there's nothing too big or too small that you're going through. But hearing from other people and seeing the other side of it is what I think helps how we help each other. And also knowing that we should never be ashamed of our stories, because our stories make us who we are. They make us beautifully flawed and lovable and all the things. And so I can remember, again, there's a lot of things that I grew from when I was younger, and I'm still growing. But I can remember being younger and thinking that, the journey that I was taking, or mistakes or whatever, it was like they were making me, like, not a bad person, but just like it's shameful almost, it's like, and you didn't want people to know because you're embarrassed. It's like, no, that's how you grow from that. And
absolutely,
that all of those pieces are what has kind of put me here in the person that I am today, and that I continue to grow from. And so being able to share that with others, hopefully they can see the beauty in some of their journey as well.
Well, I want to thank you, Tia, for coming to share your beautiful story, as well as you, Crosby, for being a great participant. And I think I do have another question.
Yeah.
Would you, I think there's such a need for children who are in foster care, or parents who aren't sure if they are capable of parenting. How would you encourage people to just stay in it, or know that if it's something they can't do, allow someone else to love and care for your child?
There definitely is a lot of stigma still around foster care and adoption, but I would say that making the decision to have an adoption plan or seeking foster care is one of the most selfless acts that you can do, because there are so many different situations that happen in adults' lives that they can impact children in many different ways. And one of the things that this is the educator side that's coming out of me, is that sometimes it's like we don't always as adults understand the impact of our adult decisions on young people, on children, and the lasting effects that it causes. Sometimes we think that, they're kids, they're not going to remember, or they're so young, they'll grow out of it. But no, I mean, so many things, even just as I was preparing for her, that they talk about, in utero, you should be doing to help the developmental stages and all the things. It's like, every decision made from the time that a child is conceived until impacts their lives in different ways. And so I say all that to say that, like, if as an adult there have situations come up in your life, or you have to make the decision to make a plan for your child because you are not able to provide the safe and stable environment that they need. Making an adoption plan or seeking foster is not, that is a great option to help them to get into a space where they can have a stable, secure, safe environment. And it's not to say, trying to disrupt families or anything like that, but the impact, like, children are impacted from day one. And And also, I would say that I know it's not an easy decision, because who wants to be away from their children, really? Right. No one does. And so it does take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of just, I don't know, sacrifice, and just, I mean, it is a huge decision. It is nothing that is done lightly when that decision is made, but there are people out there who are willing to help and extend that family. I definitely know that there are a lot of children in foster care who need stable homes, who need the safe space. The one thing for me with foster was I also was because I knew that I would fall in love with a child. I knew that. And so with foster, the idea is that, it's a temporary placement with hopes of reestablishing the family. And that is ultimately what we would want. I know I would be devastated, though. And so that's the reason I did not choose foster. But there are so many kids who could benefit. And I know that there are a lot of families who would be willing to be that temporary to help with that reunification. And so I just think again, more people talking about the story. It's not the end all be all. But it's another beautiful way to build families, I think. And like I said, to me, it's Crosby's family has now just been extended double time with the family that we have, and then with her biological family. And so I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for her, and we're going to take it one day at a time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And you look like you're trying to go somewhere. Where are you trying to go, Miss Ma'am?
So I think we're going to wind this up so Miss Crosby can have some freedom. Yes, ma'am. Thank you again for being a willing participant. And thank you again, Tia. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yes, thank you
and I'm
for
so
having
happy
us.
for both of you.
Thank you,
God. And in the words of Reverend Marcus Scott in his absence, 2 fingers. Yeah!